Our next speaker is Julie Scherpenseel. She's Chief Growth Officer at ML6. Nova, what can you tell me more about Julie?
Sure, Lauren. Searching for Julie Scherpenseel. This amazing young lady carries the title of Young ICT Lady of the Year 2020. She's a huge advocate for young women in tech and entrepreneurship and is determined to break down stereotypes. She will reveal how she is changing the future of artificial intelligence. Please welcome to the stage, Julie Scherpenseel, Strategy Officer at ML6.
Julie, welcome. How are you?
Great.
Great.
Very excited to be here in this fantastic setting.
How does it feel to sitting here on the stage of a future around the world?
Great, great. I think technology, innovation, two of my favorite topics. So very excited to be here.
Very nice. Let's go back to the beginning. What did you feel? What were your first thoughts when you got the invitation to be one of the guest speakers here today?
I think my literal words were, I wish this existed when I was a student.
Oh, that's great.
I think it's an amazing initiative. It's good to show what is happening, make sure that we're up to date, and also show what an exciting field it is.
Absolutely. Now, you did your master thesis on telco big data, an application of data commercialization in emerging countries. It's wordful, and you won a prize. How was that for you?
Great, actually. It was one of those life experiences which actually charted a lot of my course afterwards. Okay. Because I was studying business engineering, and at that time, big data, AI, it wasn't a thing yet. Mm-hmm. Nobody talked about that. And through my thesis, I was actually able to work with a startup who just started working on that topic. And so it was really exciting because a lot of students typically don't really like writing their thesis. And there I was working in a startup, playing kicker during the breaks and really working on one of those innovative topics. And it's because of that experience that I really became passionate about AI, about machine learning, about big data in general. And it's also one of the reasons why I decided to go back and work for a startup and a scale-up after a short break in a more enterprise company.
So for you, it really opened doors.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how were you as a student? Like yourself, are you a really party animal, or were you more focused on?
Yes, I would say so. I was a tutor in statistics, mathematics, and physics, and that was, I think, it for extracurriculars. Okay. I found it important to also enjoy my student life.
Absolutely.
While I could.
Just because I'm curious, what was the male-female ratio at that time when you were a student?
Well, I don't remember exactly, but I was studying business engineering, so it wasn't. I think there were still more men than women, but it wasn't shockingly low.
Okay. So you never really felt quite alone, or?
No, never.
And what about your friends and family? Were they supportive in your choice, or?
Well, my friends are always supportive. My family has always been supportive of me as well, which doesn't mean that they always gave me the best advice.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to study civil engineering, and my dad discouraged me because he said that it was nothing for women, that civil engineering was a man's world, and that I would only become more of a nerd than I already was, literally. And so that's why I actually studied business engineering. So, I mean, I don't resent him for it. He meant the best. That was his conviction, and with the information and the world that he was raised in, that was the perception that he had, but it doesn't mean that it was the truth. And now that I'm so many years later, I do realize that it's just outdated stereotypes.
You definitely proved him wrong.
Well, I mean, I think some could argue that I'm a nerd, but it's okay, I own it.
You also joined Accenture as a consultant. How was that for you?
Well, it was great because at Accenture, so again, I studied business engineering, so I didn't actually have studies in data science or machine learning. I really just followed some online courses and self-taught myself in the field. So they really gave me the opportunity to start a career in the data science team. And it was a great learning curve because you work on different projects, you work internationally, you work in a very professional company, so you have an incredible learning curve and a lot of like the basics on how to present yourself, how to talk to C-level audience. Those are all just really good fundamentals that I learned there.
Great. And what's keeping you busy at the moment?
Well, right now I work at ML6 as a strategy officer. Of course, what's in a name?
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Exactly. It's a fast-growing company, so the job changes as quickly as the company grows. But right now, the main focus is really helping the company grow as quickly, but also sustainably as possible. So now I'm focusing on building out our marketing capabilities and our marketing team. We're also expanding to Switzerland. So it's also the go-to-market there that I lead. And then also some strategic thinking, a bit related to what you're doing here, where I'm looking at what could the future look like in 10 years, and then what are the choices that we need to make now as a company to make sure that we're positioned well for that future.
And what does ML6 do exactly?
Yeah, I get that a lot. So basically, we're a services company specialized in AI. So on the one hand side, we build machine learning applications, custom applications for our clients. And then on the other hand, we also advise clients on how they can build up their own skills in AI and their own teams and their own capabilities.
Okay. And if I'm understanding it correctly, societal impact is very important for you.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. We're all technology optimists, which means that we strongly believe that AI and just intelligent technologies in general will make the world a better place. And so this means that internally we also apply ethics very strongly. So we make sure that we, in every process and in everything that we do, we really think about sustainability and ethics. So that's internally. But we also very strongly believe that from our experiences and our insights that a lot of other companies can learn from that. So we do a lot to give back to the community. And for instance, now today, just this morning, we, together with Agoria, we launched a new course called Sustainable AI in Business, which basically teaches people to think about the ethical, organizational, and legal aspects, basically the non-technical things related to AI, to basically help them think about how to apply technology in a sustainable way. So these are some of the initiatives that we do.
I think that AI definitely holds the future, but I think for a lot of people, it's just really hard to grasp what it actually means. Have you some relatable examples?
Yeah. That's the thing, AI is such a container box term, and there's so much in it that at some point it doesn't mean anything anymore. It's always about just building a system that learns from data and that can take autonomous actions based on something that happens in its environment. And a lot of things that you already have actually in your phone, for instance, in your smartphone, there's a lot of AI. For instance, when you look for a photo and you, for instance, type in car or a bed, it shows you all of the photos where there's a bed. Very useful, by the way. That is all based on AI, for instance. Or if they if you type something and it basically already suggests the word, that is also AI. Of course, those are small things. If you look at the applications that we, for instance, do with ML6, we work, for instance, for UZ Antwerpen, and there we look at data, historical data of little premature babies. Because if you're a premature baby, if it's born prematurely, you have more risk of having a sepsis attack. And so what we do there is basically, based on the historical data, we can predict up to 8 hours in advance whether a baby is going to have a sepsis attack. And based on that, doctors can actually take preliminary actions to avoid that attack from ever happening. So I think that is a great
it's truly
project.
Amazing, of course. But I understand that, like, when you hear these examples, it all sounds great. But I understand that some people are also hesitant about AI. What's your take on the ethics of AI?
Yeah, well, it's a new technology, and new things always scare people because we don't understand them, and then it's a normal reaction. So I think it's really important that we educate people and that we show how it works so that they understand it. And you see that the more that you understand it, the less
scared you
are, because actually it's just a technology. It's a means to an end. And for me, if you look at it from an ethics perspective, it can actually solve things. It can make the world a more ethical place. If you
want to have some best practices on ethics of AI?
Definitely. I think, so first of all, if you look at a concrete project, it's always important to just think about what are the benefits of the project that we're working on and what are the risks. Because you could have some risks, like when you, I don't know, when you use a chainsaw, a new technology, there are also risks associated with that, but you need to map them, you need to identify them, and then you just take preliminary actions and you're just a bit cautious about it to avoid those risks. And that's exactly the same thing when you're tackling an AI project. You just make sure, okay, these are the benefits, this is what we're trying to realize, this is how we're going to use this, and these are the potential risks. And based on that, you can define a couple of actions to mitigate those. And then in terms of best practices, what is really important is that you really identify them, document it, make sure that there's a follow-up, and that you do that with a diverse team. Because you will see that people that think diversely will also identify different risks, and they will look at it from a different perspective, which just adds to a better solution. So a diverse team is important, documenting it is important, and then a final thing is that you need to recognize that ethics is different for every person. Ethics by definition is personal.
It's subjective,
Everyone has their own stance, and as a company, you can put down a line, like this is what we consider ethical at a company, but you need to respect that some individuals might feel more strongly about certain things, and you need to make that discussable and okay. Anyone can raise an issue, anyone can say, like, look, I appreciate that, for instance, a client wants to do this, but I don't want to be part of it, I don't want to work on that, or I think you should pay particular attention to that. So you need to make the topic discussable, and that's how you create trust within your company and within your and with the consumers of the AI application, just by being completely transparent and showing, like, okay, we thought about this, we took actions, and we feel comfortable discussing the topic, and that's what we need to do, really, to create trust.
Wow. Thank you. No, you're absolutely right. And there's no secret that the IT industry is growing exponentially. But I heard that 20% of all the jobs in IT won't be filled. How is that possible?
Because there's so many more jobs in IT, and I think the demand is increasing the supply. So there, it's what you had after with the agricultural and the industrial revolution as well. The jobs are just changing, and IT and digital skills are just becoming more and more important. So we need to make sure, one, that the new workforce has those digital skills. Two, that they realize how sexy a job and a sector IT is, because unfortunately it still has a bit of a, maybe a nerdy a boring image, which is absolutely not the case. I vouch for that. And then thirdly, the existing workforce, we need to make sure that these also develop skills that are digital, so they can also start filling in those professions. And there's actually a fourth one, more women.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that women don't choose, or a lot less than choose for ICT or for technology than men, because of the lacking of role models, because there's outdated stereotypes, and it's, women are half of the workforce, so obviously if we could stimulate that a little bit, that would also help.
Absolutely. Now, congratulations. Last year you were crowned ICT Lady of the Year. How did that feel? Was it like a big triumph for all the hard work, or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, it's a nice recognition, because obviously you work hard, and it's nice to have that recognition. But it was also, I think, a big stimulator to do even more and to have an even bigger impact. And that's really what that title did for me. I basically continued the work that I was already doing, and set up one additional project. But it did, like, the visibility of what you do, the reach of what you do just increases, and that really gives a lot of energy.
Absolutely. And what's the thing you're most proud of in your career until now?
Ooh. I think the thing that gives me the most personal satisfaction is just the fact that I charted my own course.
Yeah.
Nobody, none of my friends, nobody did the trajectory that I did. I wanted to do something quantitative. I became passionate about data. I just kind of kept pursuing that passion, of course, with the support of a lot of people, and then eventually ended up somewhere in a company that I love, doing a job that I love. And I think that's the most important thing. Just if you like something, if you're passionate about something, then just keep on doing that, because personally, that's the best thing you can do for yourself.
Absolutely. It's great to have such an inspiring young woman. It's really nice having you here. But of course, I can understand it wasn't always fun and games. What were like the pitfalls in your career?
For me, the biggest hurdle is balancing, the work-life balance. Basically, it's. When you're really inspired by what you do, it's hard to at some point realize that you don't need to do everything, and that you need to, just put certain boundaries, and also, invest enough time in your life. And I think there I sometimes encountered my own boundaries a little bit, where I took a bit too much upon me. But then again, I think I have a great company who also says, Julie, slow down a little bit, it's okay, you're doing enough as it is, and voila. So I think that's for me the biggest hurdle, just something that I need to pay attention to on a day-to-day basis.
And do you have any advice for the students at home, or especially women at home, that want to launch their career or launch their career in ICT?
Yeah, I would say just do it. You just take your own destiny in hands, and two, ask for support. I think personally I had a lot of these ad hoc mentors who kind of volunteered them, but who really made the difference for me and who gave me a little push whenever I needed one. And I realized that I was lucky that I just encountered these at at the right time. But if you don't, then ask for it. There's a lot of people who want to help. I'm truly amazed by that. I organized for Young ICT Lady a Young Potential Boost Camp. I sent out an email to mentors, all CEOs, CIOs, people with very busy jobs. So I was a bit worried. They're not going to want to make the time for that. Within an hour, I had so many positive replies. Everyone is really wanting to help young people make a career. So just reach out, send a little email, drop a message on LinkedIn, and you'd be surprised at how many people want to help you. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It can be an hour conversation, a little walk in the park every month, but you will learn a lot of valuable lessons, and they can also really help you learn what do you like, what direction do you want to go, how can you understand what you like. These are all things that you can only figure out when you're actually talking to people. So I would say talk to a lot of people, ask for help, identify, get yourself that mentor that can support you in your career.
I think that's great advice. You already said it, role models are very important. Who is your role model today?
I think so. The ICT women, the previous ICT women, I got to know them a little bit better by now being a part of the She Goes ICT alumni. And these are all, and you need to look them up, but they are really strong women who charted their own courses, but who are all very modest, and they all really want to support and help each other. And I think those are really my role models. And if you look at, for instance, at François Chambert, ex-CEO now of Melexis, it's really a very inspiring story.
Okay. And what are your dreams for the future?
To keep doing what I like. I think at ML6 we're growing. There's so many opportunities to seize. There's so many directions to go. And for me, it's just really inspiring because it's always a new project that I'm working on. It's always something entirely different, and I really learn a lot from that. So my dreams are just to continue doing that and to continue working on topics that I'm passionate about and with people that I like working with.
Okay. And we had a rough year. COVID-19 hit the world. Does never waste a good crisis apply to you? Did you got inspired to change something due to the changing environment, or was it hard for you this year?
No, indeed. That's the right mindset. I think when there's a setback, you can always turn it into an advantage. Before COVID, I was constantly traveling, but a bit too much traveling. I slept 2 days every 2 weeks at home in my own bed, so it was starting to weigh a bit on me. And then I never had time to exercise. So COVID really changed that. I'm running half a marathon later this month. So I would say I became sportive thanks to COVID. So that's a win.
Absolutely. And how important is to be lucky in entrepreneurship? How big is that portion?
I used to always tell that myself. I was just lucky that I got that opportunity. And then one of my mentors once said, Julie, there is no luck. You create your own opportunities. And you create them, and then you need to seize them. And that is what people assign luck, or they say it's luck, and apparently it's a female thing, that we always, when we achieve something, we tend to say it's luck. I don't know whether that's true or whether that's another stereotype, but I think of course you can have a bit of chance, but it's never truly luck, because if you work on credibility, if you work on showcasing your skills, if you talk to people, it's basically that creates a series of events that then eventually lead to an opportunity being presented to you. But it's typically because you talk to someone, because you showcase yourself, because you inspired someone, because they saw how good you were. So it's always an action that you took that
it started from
eventually-
you, yeah.
Exactly. So is it then luck? I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit, but the more you talk, the more luck you will have. So it's still in your own hands.
It's absolutely true. A final question, and then I will let you go. And I lost the question. I had a question in mind. What was I going to ask? Yeah. One final question, and I will let you go. What would you have wanted to know that you had to find out yourself? What would you have wanted that someone else, a teacher, had really taught you at school that you had to figure out yourself?
It's, I think, standing up for my own ideas. I learned that quite late. I mean, when I started my career, especially in an organization, in a consulting organization, everyone has their own roles. As senior managers are responsible for that, and when you're an analyst, you work in a predefined role and a predefined structure, but you don't need to confine yourself to that role or that structure that has been set out. It's okay to have different ideas, to kind of want to color outside of the predefined lines, and that's something that companies also value, because you take initiative, entrepreneurship. Every company loves people who have that entrepreneurial spirit. If you do it, if you want to start your own company, great. But also in existing mature companies, they really like that entrepreneurial drive. So feel free to color outside of the lines. Don't confine yourself to pre-established expectations. I think I did that too much in the beginning, trying to be what I thought people expected me to be. Just be yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much, Julie. It was a very inspiring talk, and I remember color outside of the box. Next up on this stage is a sit-together with ING on fintech and entrepreneurship, or join Kristina Kachojova from KEG on the pioneer stage, or Pierre van Damme on the main stage.